Hey students, welcome to another day with rational and irrational numbers. In the first video, we talked about classifying rational and irrational numbers and what those things are and the number system. And in this video, we're going to talk about comparing rational and irrational numbers. So I would like for you to copy these steps down in your notebook or on a separate piece of paper. So take some time, pause the video, and copy these down, and then I'll talk about it. I hope that you took some time to copy these steps down in your notebook. You can use that as you do your assignment, refer back to those notes. Please copy the examples that we're going to do also. But basically, to compare rational and irrational numbers, the first thing I want you to do is copy the problem, write it down as it's given to you. And then, second, you're going to convert both numbers to decimals or decimal approximations. And to do that, you do numerator divided by denominator. You might have to take the square root of something, and I'm going to let you use a calculator to do all of that. I'm more concerned about actually comparing right now than converting to a decimal. So you can use a calculator to do the conversion in step 2. Step 3 then is we look at those two numbers now that they're in decimal form and think of money and compare them. So you're going to compare place value by place value to determine which one is bigger. And then remember that the inequality sign always opens towards the bigger number. So let's look at 1. So it says, which of the following is a true statement? So we have to decide which one of these is true. Again, here's our steps. So you would copy these, you would convert them to decimals, and what I would like you to do is just cross off the fraction. So 12 and 2/3, we automatically know the whole number is going to be 12. So in front of the decimal point, it's going to be 12. The whole number is not going to change. We need to convert this 2/3 to a decimal. So we need to do 2 divided by 3 on the calculator. And that's going to give us 6 repeating on a calculator. You might see a 7 at the end because the calculator rounds it, but really it's just a repeating 6. Now both of these are decimals. So let's go through and let's change all the fractions to decimals. So this one, we're going to cross it off. We know it's going to be negative 4 point something. 5 divided by 6 is what we have to do. So 5 divided by 6 is 0.83, and the 3 repeats. So after the decimal, 8, 3, and this 3 repeats. And this one, we have two fractions. I think this is a pretty common one. We know it's going to be negative 3 point something. 1 divided by 4, 1/4, that's 0.25. Think of a quarter. Negative 3 and 2/5, we know that's going to be negative 3 point something. When you do 2 divided by 5, you'll find that it's 0.4. And then for the last one, 7 and 2/3, we already had a 2/3 up here, so use what we've already done. 7.6 repeating. Now let's actually compare them. So in the first answer choice, we are comparing 12.6 repeating to 12.7 and trying to decide. This is saying that 12.6 repeating is bigger. So they both have the same whole number. We look at the next place value, so the first number after the decimal point. 7 is the bigger one. Therefore, this is the bigger number. That is not what that inequality is saying. So this one is incorrect. And this one, they are negatives. So negatives is a little bit backwards. We're trying to determine which one is further away from 0. That's the smaller one. So the one that actually looks the biggest, if you would just ignore the negative signs, the one that looks the biggest without the negative signs is actually the smaller one. They both have a 4 as a whole number. In the tenths column, they both have an 8, so we need to keep going. If we add another decimal point to our decimal place to this, it would be 0, so 0.80. This is 0.83, so the 0.83 is bigger. But again, they were negative, so the bigger number is smaller. This inequality is saying that this is the bigger number, and that is incorrect. We have negatives again. So again, the way I like to do it is I ignore the negative, and the one that is the bigger number is the smaller one. So negative 3, look at the next place value, so look at the tenths column. 4 is bigger than 2, so this is the bigger number, but because they're negative, it means it's a smaller number. And that is what our inequality is saying. It's opening towards this one. This is the bigger one. So this is the true statement. Just for practice, let's check the final answer choice. So they're positive, that makes it a little easier on us. 7.68, 7.6. Right now it's saying this is the bigger number. Same whole number, same number in the tenths column. So let's take it one step further to the hundredths. This has an 8. This 6 repeats, so that means this would be a 6. 8 is bigger than the 6. So that means this decimal is bigger than this fraction. In this one, we're supposed to select all the expressions that are correct. So again, let's copy, let's convert them to decimals, then we'll compare the decimals. So -1 and 4/5, we'd have to do, we know it's going to be -1 point something. 4 divided by 5 is going to give you 0.8. And let's just go ahead and compare them one at a time this time. So same whole number, tenths column is the same, so we need to look at the hundredths, which means we need to add a 0 to this one. 7 is bigger than 0, but notice they are negative. So because they're negative, that means the bigger number that we see without the negative is actually smaller. So this is actually the smaller number. This inequality is saying that it's the biggest. So this is not correct. We'll cross this one off completely. Not correct. Let's go to the second answer choice. Both of them are fractions. So let's change both of them. 3 3/5 is going to be 3 point something. When you do 3 divided by 5, you should get 0.6. So 3.6 is less than 3 2/3. There's 2/3 again. We've already done it. We know that 2 divided by 3 is going to be 0.6 repeating. So this is saying 3.6 is less than 3.6 repeating. They are identical. So let's take it out to another decimal place. After this 6, since it doesn't repeat, this is technically a 0. After this one, it repeats, so this is a 6. Here's a perfect example. If you just think of money, $3.60, $3.66, 366 is bigger. That's what this inequality is saying. It's opening towards this. So this one is correct. Third option. Let's convert this to a decimal, 18 point something. 4/7 is not a very common one. I don't know that off the top of my head. So I'm going to do 4 divided by 7. And you get a really, really long decimal. Since this one only goes out 2 digits, let's only go 2 digits. So 18.57 is what I got when I did it on the calculator. And now here's one, if I just compare, I think of it as money. This is definitely bigger than this, which is what the inequality is saying. So option 3 is also correct. Option 4, change the -5 1/8 to 1 divided by 8 is 0.125. It actually goes out 3 digits. And let's just rewrite the whole inequality. They're negative, so we got to remember our thinking is backwards here. Both have -5 as the whole number. Tens column is 1. Tens column is 1, so let's carry it out to another place value. 2 is bigger than 0, so that means this is the bigger number, but it's a negative. So that means it's actually the smaller number here, which is not what this inequality is saying. So this one is incorrect. The only two that were correct were the two middle ones. One more, and then we'll be done. So 9 7/10, change it to 9.7. If you want, go ahead and carry it out. We see this is 2 decimal places, so let's just make both of them 2 decimal places. Compare it like money. 9.79 is bigger than 9.7. That is true. -6.53 is greater than -6 3/5. Change -6 3/5 to -6.6 after dividing. Add another 0 here so that it's 2 digits after the decimal on both of them. They both start with -6. Move to the tens place. This 6 is bigger than this 5. They are negative numbers. So since this is the bigger negative, further away from 0, so this is the smaller number, which is what this inequality is telling us. So this one is also correct. 2.78 is greater than 2 4/5. Change 2 4/5 to 2.8. 4 divided by 5 would be 0.8. Okay. Carried out to the hundredths, since this has 2 digits. 278 greater than 280? No. Incorrect. Last one. Negative 16 and 3/10. 3 divided by 200 will be 0.3 is greater than negative 16 and 5/12. So 5 divided by 12. The decimal that ends up repeating, but it'd be 0.41, and then the 6 repeats. So really, since this only goes out to the tenths, and this is, I can already tell just looking at the tenths column, negative 16.4. They're negative. This is the bigger negative number, so it's further away from 0, which means it's smaller. That's what this inequality is telling me. So I hope that this video helps you to compare rational and some irrational numbers and decide which one is bigger and which inequalities are true. Please email me if you have questions. Have a great day.